Welcome back to Steve's Project Car Garage. My name is Steve. Today we're not working on the Spitfire, but instead I wanted to take a few moments to reminisce on the last 2 years and talk about everything that's happened. 2 years ago, actually yesterday, I went ahead and I launched my first YouTube video and I launched this channel. At that point, I really had no idea what I was doing and I was just kind of winging it. Not much has changed since then. I still don't really know what I'm doing, and I'm pretty much winging it. But the car has come a long way. If you've been following me since the beginning, I really appreciate your support and you being here and sticking with me through this entire thing. I remember when I got my first subscriber, my friend Adam, way back in the day, and I'm pretty sure he's still sticking around with me watching the videos. So if you're watching Adam, thanks so much for being there. Anyways, so 2 years has passed. I started out with absolutely just a couple of hand tools and no knowledge of really what I was trying to do and what needed to be done. I took the car apart by taking the doors off, I started taking the windshield off, and I just started kind of poking around at it, trying to figure out what it was the car actually needed. Initially, I was going to just do a few things to fix it up, but as I started peeling back the layers of the onion, I found the car needed a whole lot more than just a couple of small things. If you remember back in some of my early episodes, I discovered that the entire heel board was completely rotted out, and there was really nothing there holding the radius arm brackets up, except for some old welded-in plate steel that really wasn't done all that well. After that, my buddy Chris came over, and he and I helped kind of get the ball rolling, and he made me rip the Band-Aid off, and we dove into the sills and found that the sills were just absolutely destroyed, and there was nothing left of the inner strengtheners. And then at that point, it was kind of a decision for me, is what am I going to keep doing at this point? I decided that if I wanted to go ahead and clean the floors up or if I wanted to try to replace them. And that was a big decision. I wasn't quite prepared for that level of work, but I had to do it because that was the only way to actually do it. So I pulled the floors out, started tearing things down, and discovered that I was honestly in for more than I was bargaining for. I ended up pulling the quarter panels off in the back, or the rear wings as some folks call them, and discovered that the lower B-posts were completely rotted out. Borrowed my buddy Chris's welder and I started to teach myself how to weld. Fast forward a few weeks, I said, you know what, it's time for me to buy my own welder, so I got myself set up with that Lincoln Pro 140 Pro MIG welder, and I just kind of went to town with it. Ended up getting one side of the B-post taken care of. Summer hit, it got super hot here in Florida. I lost all motivation. There's no lie about that. I was ready to kind of throw in the towel. But you guys, my viewers, kept me going. I was doing this because I dedicated myself to making this project happen and to documenting it. And the last thing I wanted to do was let y'all down too. So I kept plugging away. Fast forward a couple of months because the heat was just so much. Got the second side of the B-post done. And then I started kind of getting a better feel of how to weld, which was great. So then I moved on to the lower A-posts. The lower A-posts, if you remember, were completely rusted out. They were just absolute garbage, and so I had to go ahead and cut those out and slowly work my way through putting those back in. And that was something that I was really kind of worried about because I was afraid that if I didn't get the A-posts right, then the doors wouldn't hang right and there would be all kinds of issues. I took my time with it and I figured it out and I fumbled my way through it and I made some mistakes, but I got it done. After I got those welded in, I felt pretty confident about things until I started doing a lot of measurements and I discovered that the firewall seemed to be off. So Chris and I got together again and Chris helped me manhandle those firewalls forward, and we actually took the car from being 1 inch out of square to getting it to be within 1/16 of square, which, if you ask me, for a 52-year-old car is pretty good, but it's also pretty dang good for an amateur. Although Chris isn't quite an amateur. He's got a lot more experience than I do, but it is what it is. So I got the firewall taken care of, and then I welded in the floors, got the floors welded in, which was a nice thing to do. And then after I got that, I was able to actually weld in the prop shaft tunnel, which was a really big thing because, frankly, there was a guy on a forum that I was on a while back that said that I had to completely ruin the car and I would never be able to get that prop shaft tunnel welded back in and keep the car in one piece without folding it. And I proved him wrong. So challenge accepted, and I did it. So once I got that taken care of, then it was kind of moving on to some of the other things, like working on the bottom of the car, working on the inner wings. The inner wings needed to be painted. They'd be sanded down first and then painted. I hit those, and then I went ahead and I started working on the wheel wells. There was some work that needed to be done there. But essentially, this fall, I went ahead and I took the big step of taking the tub off of the frame. Once I got the tub off the frame, I went ahead and I built my own homemade wooden rotisserie. And that's where the car is today. So the car is actually still sitting on the rotisserie, but I got the wings welded back on, did a bunch of repair work on the bottom of it, got the bottom ready for paint pretty much. In recent video, I went ahead and I rebuilt the bulkhead. The bulkhead was completely rotted out, as well as the mount where the heater core goes. So that was a big challenge in itself. So I was able to go ahead and get that taken care of and welded in, which was fantastic. So that kind of brings me up to where I am today. I was actually working on a video previously to try and repair the battery box, but well, that didn't quite go to plan, and I had to press pause on that whole series because I ended up scrapping it, to be frank, but I will show that in another video, and I'll show you what my solution is going to be moving forward. I'm excited to get the bulkhead wrapped up. That's one of those things that once I get that done, then really at that point it's a matter of stripping the car down, getting paint off of it, so I can prep it for some epoxy primer, and then go ahead and also paint the bottom with the epoxy primer and Raptor liner. Now, of course, there's still plenty of metal work to be done on the car. I haven't even looked at the bonnet yet. The bonnet's been sitting over here, and I know that's going to have a little bit of work to it at least, but for the most part, the metal work on the car itself is pretty much done, which is nice to say. When I started out with this project, the entire lower 6 inches of the car was completely rotted out. I had to remove the heel board and completely replace it, which is something that was no easy undertaking on itself. That was definitely one of those situations where if you were squeamish, you probably didn't want to watch, because I didn't know if I was going to be able to put it back together, but I did, which was awesome. So moving forward for the car itself, I still have the entire frame to do. I have the bonnet to do, I got the doors to do. I'm going to have to do some work on the bonnet and the door edges itself, because the door edges didn't quite fit right, so there's going to be a little bit of magic that I'm going to have to work on those to get that to line up and make the door gaps look good, but I'm not afraid of it. The chassis. I mean, the chassis has so much left to be done to it. Everything, in fact. So the plan with the chassis is that I'm going to go ahead and completely strip it down. It's going to be every nut and bolt that's going to come off of the thing. The rear differential needs to be completely rebuilt, because who knows if that's ever been done. I don't think it has. It actually leaks an enormous amount of gearbox fluid. I'm looking at it right now thinking, man, how did that thing have so much fluid in it? But it keeps leaking everywhere. The engine, I'm going to be completely rebuilding it. That's the big plan. I don't know to what extent we're going to be completely rebuilding it. If we're going to drop it off at a machine shop and have them go ahead and fix it up, and then I'll rebuild it, or if I'm going to take some measurements and just find out how the thing is as it sits, and it may just be a refresh as opposed to a full rebuild. Transmission. I am currently working on getting an overdrive transmission for the car. It currently has the standard 4-speed transmission that comes with it from the factory without the overdrive, but I have located an overdrive transmission that will work for it, but it is in Pennsylvania, and so I'm trying to go ahead and figure out how to get it down here. And that will also require rebuilding. But that's fine. That's what I've been doing, and I love doing the rebuild and refresh thing, so it's awesome. But yeah, I mean, the frame's going to get completely stripped down. I'll go ahead and probably not sandblast it, but I will pressure wash it, and I'll sand it down itself, and then paint it and get it all cleaned up and make it look nice and clean. Land the body back on it so I can go ahead and get some room back in my garage. And get the tub off the rotisserie, because it's very tight right now. Once I have that done, though, then it's a matter of putting the engine back together, dropping it in, and getting the body painted, and, well, there's a lot left still. But I wanted to take a few minutes to, talk about color, because I haven't revealed what color it is, and where it's going to be. And then I want to go ahead and just thank a couple of my friends that have helped me along the way, and just kind of share a few details with you guys about the channel, how it's grown. So at the moment, the channel is just shy of 50,000 views, which if you told me that 2 years ago, I was actually knocking on that door, would have been absolutely incredible. So I know 50,000 isn't much for a lot, but for me, that's pretty impressive. I have 692 subscribers at the moment, and I I don't even know how many hours. I know that currently for the last 365, I'm at like 2,500 hours of view time from you guys. So thank you for doing that. The channel is growing, and I'm super excited about that. A lot of it is because you guys have really taken an interest in my project and everything that I've been doing. I actually got a mention in an email from Moss that they put out, kind of promoting the channel a little bit. So thank you, Moss Motors, for that. And thanks to everybody that has picked up and subscribed. Because honestly, without you guys, I don't know where I would be on this project, if I would even still be going or not. I want to take a couple of minutes to also thank a couple of buddies that have also YouTube channels. We've got Paul with 48 Spokes, so go check out his channel. Elin with Rusty Beauties. Everybody knows Elin. Definitely check out his channel. Hazen Wardle with Driveway Shop, another awesome channel. Please go ahead and check him out. Chris Fisher with Roundtail Restoration. He's been a huge inspiration for me. In fact, he's the reason that I started all this, was watching his videos. And so he's been doing some awesome work. He's got a TR4 that he's been working on, and I enjoy watching him quite a bit. And gosh, there's so many other ones too. And if I didn't remember, I apologize, but I will put links to all their channels in the description below. And if you haven't done so already, please make sure you go check out their channels and subscribe to them. One that I don't know personally, but one that I have a lot of respect for is Fitzy with Fitzy's Fabrications. His videos have taught me so much about welding. He's got a pretty big channel, but if you don't know his channel yet, I totally advise you to go check it out, because frankly, his work is incredible and he's an amazing teacher. So, on that note, I wanted to talk about car colors. So, going into this, the car, as you know, was kind of like this bluish color. Gorgeous blue, actually. A lot of folks wanted me to keep it that color, but it didn't totally speak to me. The car originally was Laurel Green, and Laurel Green to me was a little muted. I don't know, it didn't really strike me all that well. And there was almost no Laurel Green left on the car, but what I did see I wasn't crazy about. There was another option of silver. I plan on painting this car myself, and I don't know if I'm quite ready to jump into metallic flake yet for a paint job. I want something that I can fix easily if I make mistakes, or not if I make mistakes, but rather when I make mistakes. Also for touch-up purposes, like if I scratch it or something like that, shopping cart bumps into it or whatever, I want to be able to fix it up pretty easily. British Racing Green, that was an option. I absolutely love British Racing Green, but again, I wanted something maybe a little bit different. That was the idea of yellow. That was another one for a while. But ultimately, since I was a kid, I have always wanted a bright red Triumph Spitfire. And so with that, I am telling you guys today that the car will be Viper Red, which is a color from Kirker. I have actually ordered the paint already. It's in my office, and I'm really excited about it. So we're going to do a base coat with epoxy primer, of course. We'll do some standard primer on top of that to get the body work done. And of course, I'll be doing a skim coat of body filler over the entire thing to get all those imperfections out. And then we'll be hitting it with more primer, and then of course the Viper Red. So I'm pretty stoked about that. I'll put up a picture of what the Viper Red looks like in just a minute, because it's a beautiful color red. It's not too bright, it's not too dark, kind of right in the middle. So that's the big news as far as the color of the car is concerned. But with that, I'm waiting on a couple of things in the mail right now. It is also December 22nd, so we're knocking on Christmas pretty soon. So I don't know if I'm necessarily going to get a video out before Christmas outside of this. So if I don't see you guys before then, I definitely wish you all Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. I fingers crossed we'll have a video out before New Year's, but if I don't, Happy New Year's as well. And again, thank you to everybody for the support over the last 2 years. You guys have kept me going. You're not just subscribers to me, you're actually friends and family, and I really do appreciate it. All those comments you guys give, the thumbs up, the views, all of it just tells me that you guys like what I'm doing, and that I'm not doing such a bad job on this car after all. So thank you so much. I hope that you guys all have a great holiday, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the new year. And remember, when working on project cars like this, don't be that dreaded previous owner. Cheers.